The third movement of worship is the climax of the service. It's that high point that everything has been leading up to. In our image of worship being like moving through a house during a dinner banquet, we finally arrive at supper time. In United Methodist Worship, the third movement is the Eucharist, or Thanksgiving. But you might also know it by the name the Lord's Supper, or Holy Communion. I'm Reverend Ian Collier, and this is 2-Minute Methodism. Lots of human relationships are formed over meals. Eating with people is one of the customary ways to get to know them, to build community, to develop friendship. In Christianity, God doesn't just want us to be his students or disciples, but also his friends, the people he chooses to eat dinner with. Christ commanded his disciples to continue the practice of sharing bread and wine, and when he did, he told them that the bread and wine are his body and blood. And since God keeps God's promises, we believe that in communion, Christ's body and blood are really present there, even if we can't explain how. Now, one of the most significant changes that United Methodists made to our worship in the 80s and 90s was to restore a sense of sacrifice to communion. Specifically, in thanks for Christ saving us, we say that we are sacrificing ourselves in service to God's will. In other words, when we receive Christ's body, we become one flesh with Christ and devote our lives to his mission. In this sense, we have to remember that this banquet we're being invited to is not just any dinner. It's the wedding feast of Christ and his bride, the church. And this movement is not just the dining room, it's also the bridal chamber. And at communion, the church becomes one flesh with her spouse, Christ. This is actually the relationship that human marriages get their meaning and value from. And Holy Communion is the way that we enter into a union now on earth, which will not end at death like a human marriage, but will continue forever in the world to come.